Hi everyone, Bobby Childs here from D2D Esports and Extreme Motorsports 99.com, the Rick Motec GT Challenge and Sports Car Series. Here to talk to you today about an application / dash I've been working on in SimHub. Not only this Audi R8, which this background screen came from an existing Audi R8 dash in SimHub. Cannot remember the name of the original author off the top of my head, so I apologize there. I will add credit in the description of the video once I get this uploaded to the author of the original dash. But the iRaceLogic here is all this is all original work here. The frame was built in Photoshop, the buttons, the whole 9 yards. So this is so that we can get RaceLogic functionality with iRacing. If you're running a set of Corsa, you already have a virtual RaceLogic in the car, in most of the cars anyway. And that's not something we're going to have anytime soon in iRacing. So I decided I could make this iRaceLogic dash for SimHub. And it's designed to be used with you got an old cell phone laying around or a small wave share screen. Work really good there. It can also be used as an overlay in iRacing if you run in windowed mode. I don't run in windowed mode because I don't like the frame drops I get in windowed mode. So I run full screen. And I, of course, have an old cell phone here, old Motorola Droid that I can use this for. It's got the touchscreen functionality, the whole 9 yards. Now, the first thing we have going on here is we have not turned any laps on this track yet with this car, period. So these are going to be our first laps on the track, and the iRaceLogic and the dash both need to build data in SimHub for the persistent tracker so that we get our predicted lap time and we get our fuel calculations. We have that both on the Audi dash and in the iRaceLogic. It does have a fuel calculator. We also need to set a best lap delta in iRacing. This is all very iRacing specific. The iRaceLogic is not built to work with other sims. It's using straight raw data out of iRacing. So let's get on the track and see what else it does. Right now I have it emulating the satellite lock that it waits for until the driver is on the track and the RaceLogic gets synchronized. So let's get on the track. And of course, our dash changes, as well as the RaceLogic now goes into a lap timer. And this session's been active long enough that the lap timer you see is up to a good long time there. So we'll get out here and let's get a lap set and let's see what it does once we get a lap set. Now, if you have done absolutely nothing on the track, there's a screen that the RaceLogic goes through where it's waiting for the start-finish line to begin building data, and that is in the iRaceLogic. That is simulated. We do have several screens available for the app, and we'll go over those in a minute. It's going to be a little bit before we have fuel data. We need a couple of laps in before SimHub can get our fuel use calculated. The dash does not have a static RPM level set to flash for shifting. I've actually used the information available on the iRacing forums to flash the blue LEDs and flash the gear indicator at the optimum shift time, according to the information available on the iRacing forums. Now, of course, I'm not trying to hot lap here or anything, just trying to get around the track, generate some data. Yeah, see, I completely missed my braking point there because I'm not even thinking about how I'm getting around this track right now. Taking it very easy. Just we're going to get some some laps logged for data purposes only. All right, next lap starting. Braking really early, not trying to do anything crazy, just getting some good laps in. And because this is iRacing specific, it works off your iRacing session best lap. So any off tracks will invalidate that lap and will cause the RaceLogic to have to start over building your predictive lap. Which of course is simulated. It's just iRacing waiting until you have a valid lap in. But you get the point. And I'll show you those screens in a minute. And again, don't critique my driving too much. I'm even barehanded right now because we're going to go over some of these functions, and I'm not worried about setting lap times right now. This isn't even the car I compete in the Ricmotech GT Challenge in, so this is all wasted. This would all be wasted for me right now if I were trying to find speed on the track in this car, because I'm in the BMW Z4 in that league. Alright, as soon as we start getting fuel data, we'll start looking at screens, and there we go. We now have fuel data. So we've got our fuel alert now has data that will come up when you first get into the session, and that will also come up when you're down to 2 laps left and down to 1 lap left. You'll get that fuel alert on your screen. So now that we have that information all synchronized in the system, let's go ahead and go over a couple other things we need to do with the application. So normally SimHub gives you about 6 buttons you can play with to control your dashes. You have a show next dash, show previous dash, dash action A, B, C, and D. So you do have some things you can play around with there with all your buttons. But one thing is if you use the default controls, that's going to change every dash that you have up. And right now we've technically got 2 dashes up. So what we're going to want to do with the iRaceLogic is take advantage of the dedicated device controls over here that are available to us by using a phone for the dash. So let's get that in place. And what we want here are the controls to show the next dash and show the previous dash. So we'll click to configure, and we want this to be during, and we'll click our up button. And there we go. iRace button up is now being read. We'll do the same thing here. For the down button, we want it during the down button. There we go. All right. And the stop button is already configured in SimHub to wipe out your data. It'll wipe out your fuel and predictive time data, so that's a reset button. So that button is there for a good reason. And it does work. and we'll go over that in a moment. But now let's get back on the track so we can see these screens. Okay, so now we're on the first screen is our regular lap counter. And now we're at our session best. Our session best is not set yet because we have a break in the time. As you can see, sector 2 is not being counted. So our current lap, we currently don't have a valid tracking lap. So it goes into a create mode for the reference lap. Now the predictive timer is going to work right now because that is actually controlled by SimHub and not by iRacing. But we hit the stop button here, and that's currently not working. I got to get that set in the software. Let's do that. I thought I had that set already. So we want to clear. Let's go to controls and events. And let's do a new mapping. Go to type to filter. Let's hit the button. So we now have iRace button stop. And we want to get to our control to reset our data in SimHub. Clear lap history right there. All right. So we missed that step in setup, but we got it now. And so let's go back into iRacing. And now we hit the stop button and we're back creating a reference lap. This page is our lap counter. On the left, we have the total laps done by the car. On the right, if we were in a team session, and this does work, if we were in a team session, on the right would be your laps in the car during your stint, during your current stint. But right now, we're not in a team session, so it just says no data on that side of the screen. Then, of course, we have our fuel calcs here. Our fuel to add is now back to 0 because we reset that data. And let's leave it on that screen for now, and let's go back out and get another lap or two in to where we have that data generated. Let's give SimHub enough data to tell us how much fuel we need again. Well, that's not something we're going to be able to do right now because we're in a test session no matter what. I forgot about that because we're at a 0-0. And see, we just had a message come up on the screen that we're synchronized. That means iRacing is now counting our delta again. So now we're back with live data where we can use the delta control in the iRaceLogic to track our delta. And it works just like the delta bar in iRacing. I'll show you that in a moment. Let's go ahead and get off this fuel screen because it's not doing us any good. You can't set fuel to go in an unlimited test session. And we don't have a maximum speed set yet. And our speedometer's off. We'll have to go into the data and fix that. For some reason that screen isn't showing and it should be. And of course our session info will tell us how much time is left in the session. Again, this is why we can't do a good fuel calc. So we'll go back to lap timing. Let's go to the session delta. This is always going to be your session best lap. Although on the dashboard here, I can actually scroll through the deltas on the Audi dash here. I can change my session best lap, optimal lap, all-time best lap, all the deltas available in iRacing. I can scroll through those. But for the iRaceLogic, your session best is going to be pretty much what it always uses anyway. Now you see we've got the left LED was solid green there, showing that we were gaining time, and the right LED turned to green because we were gaining a lot of time. This works just like the Delta bar. If you've got one light, you're progressing a little. If you've got both lights, you're progressing a lot. So see, right now, we're going a lot faster. We're really bringing that delta down. Now we're losing time again. We're back gaining, losing. And that's the data coming from iRacing that drives the delta bar on your screen if you use it. So we're really bringing that down now. We got both green LEDs. That's why if you use this, it's good to have it. You can use it in an overlay mode, but of course in overlay mode, the touch buttons aren't going to work. And where I have it on my rig right now is not really where it needs to be. It needs to be somewhere closer to my peripheral vision, but I'm not worried about a final mounting position for it yet, because I have a new rig coming. It's been ordered from Track Racer, and I'll eventually be off of this PVC monster that I've been on since 2006. And you can see all that changing as we're going through each individual corner, each segment of the track. Whether we're gaining or losing time is obvious. And now our last lap data comes up and stays on the screen for us long enough to capture it mentally. How much time we gained or lost on that lap, what that lap time was. Now that's the only screen where the LEDs light up, other than the predictive lap where the LEDs will turn blue while it's building a predictive lap. Let's go to that screen. So now we've got our predictive lap counter up, and in the bottom right it tells us how many laps we've run, and it says PRED to remind us we're looking at the predictive lap counter when we look over, or the predictive lap timer, sorry. So let's do our reset. Let's clear out that predictive lap. So now we're creating a reference lap. And once we have valid time in for a predicted lap, that screen will change. And you may have noticed by now I have ABS and traction control lights showing up on this dash. It's impossible, right? Because iRacing doesn't give us the traction control and ABS activation data in the telemetry. That's where SimHub comes in again. SimHub really shines through for stuff like this. Now, it's not perfect. I'll tell you how we're accomplishing that in a moment. All right, our reference lap is built, and the predictive lap timer is ready to go. Oh, traction control just lit up there. Ha ha ha! How you like that? I'll tell you in a second how that's working. So SimHub is amazing for running your rumble motors, if you have them. Whether you're using a shake it system, whether you've just got the rumble motors on the Fanatic Club Sport pedals, it's really, really good at running that stuff. And SimHub actually exposes the rumble motor activation values in their data for you to use in your dashes. And so what I've done is taken those rumble levels and combined them with the traction control and ABS levels as a multiplier to say whether you're getting into the ABS or the traction control or not. Now again, it's not 100% perfect. Getting to the ABS light does not necessarily mean you're hitting the ABS, but because it's reading a front tire lockup event, you're more than likely in the ABS when that light comes on. And as you change your ABS values, that light doesn't light up as much. Now, traction control is a little bit of an odd duck because it reads the car slipping. It reads that loss of traction. You have the multiplier there, but it's weird because when we have the traction control up high, of course it's going to activate more. But when you have the traction control low, you're going to slip more. So the traction control light is a little bit more of an odd duck here. It's a little bit harder to fake the value, but that's essentially what we have, is a faked value. So let's go check out our lap counter. Fuel management, of course, current fuel level, but nothing we can do about the fuel needed for the session because we're just in test. And so far we've managed 162 miles an hour. And of course, current speed right there. Now, the real life RaceLogic has other data available. It'll tell you what your acceleration level is, give you your yaw, your lateral G's, and all that stuff. Now, that's cool, but I don't know how useful that really is for sim racing. So I'm not going to go through all the things I would need to do to add that in for this application. I've looked into the data available from iRacing and the telemetry, and I'm sure it can be done, but I personally am not going to do it. So once I'm ready to publish this, as always, so many things out there from SimHub now, you can just pull into Dash Studio and configure as you like. This will be no different. If some enterprising individual wants to go in and add the lateral G's and all that stuff, you go right ahead. Well, that's not something I want to take on. So let's kick it up a notch now and really drive hot. Woo! Little blue light came on that time. Maybe a little too much brake in there still. But again, this is not my car. Just getting a feel for it. Definitely a little easier to get through some of these corners than the Z3 is, I can tell you that. Or the Z4, I'm sorry. Yeah, I hit that little sausage there. And I tell you what, the Z4 does not like those sausages. Oh, that's a terrible lap. Oh, we got us an off. The dash is telling us we had an off. Give this thing a little more front brake bias. Ah ha ha, there you go, Dave. My teammate Dave shared with me some video I really needed to help me get this Audi dash updated. The dash in the Audi on iRacing is very out of date. And Dave really helped me out a lot getting this where I wanted it to be. Ugh, I messed that up a lot. But again, not trying to set the world on fire. So that's what it looks like when you get the ABS off, traction control off. And again, I would like nothing more than for iRacing to start giving us at least the tire pressure data most modern GT3 cars have. Their newer touring cars, both the GT4s, the M8, the BMW M8, all have that data available on the InSim dashes. It seems really a stretch that someone would use that as a cheat when they've already now, cracked down on people doing donuts in qualifying and doing absurd tire heating events like burnouts in qualifying and things like that. So really wish they would relax their stance on that data. But either way about it, that's the tour of the Audi dash and of the iRaceLogic. A little more tweaking and tightening up I want to do of the applications, but otherwise I'll post them pretty soon. And thanks for watching.